Good morning, friends. Hello, hello, hello. April here, and welcome to Medwell Unscripted. We're so excited to be here today because we have another phenomenal guest with us today. We have Aaron Riley, the founder and CEO of Certified Testing and Data. And we're going to have a great conversation ahead, friends. And then, of course, my partner in crime, Emily Waxman, who is the community director of community outreach. And I just want to kind of start off at the top here and again, welcome everybody here to today's show. Today, we're going to be talking about protecting our wellness, the importance of cannabis testing. I think it's a really, really important topic. A lot of you probably, and some of you may already know, but really testing is part of the process of us being able to get our medicinal cannabis on a regular basis. So it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation. If you are here in the chat, drop a hello. If you have comments, please drop those as well. And we are live. So there's always these technology gremlins. So if for whatever reason one of us bumps out, we'll come back in and we'll continue our conversation. I think actually last week we had that where there was like a bump in internet connection. There's so many things that can happen. And if you are catching the replay, please absolutely leave us a comment or a question. We'll be sure to get back to you. And I also should say that Medwell Unscripted is also in partnership with DocMJ. Medwell Health and Wellness teamed up and partnered with DocMJ as another kind of the making of one brand, so to speak, where we can help our friends and patients across the United States, not only in Massachusetts, but Florida, Ohio, Texas, Georgia, and coming soon to Pennsylvania. So we're really excited to be able to help many more patients with their health and wellness for, feeling their best self. All right. So good morning, guys. How is everybody?
Good morning.
Doing good.
All right. All right. So welcome. I want to get started with Emily. Let's hear what you're up to. So you are our community outreach gal, and you're on fire in Massachusetts and Florida, meeting lots of great partners. So tell us what you're up to.
Yes, love meeting all of these amazing partners that all have the same ideas that we do here over at Medwell and DocMJ, where it's all about the patient, all about how they can assist, what they can offer for education and information to be able to make being able to obtain your medical cannabis certification that much easier, making sure that it's going to be the right decision for you. We have the most unbelievable physicians that are so caring, so wonderful, there for our patients. And so it's wonderful to be able to partner up with all these folks to be able to just get that outreach and education out there. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to meet the folks in Florida and just be able to continue the good word. And it seems like everywhere I'm going these days, everyone's getting very excited for 420. It seems to be the buzz all around town. So for everyone that's listening, make sure that you're checking out all those dispensaries with all those amazing specials and promotions that they're going to be running, especially for patients. So definitely make sure you keep your eyes out for that.
Awesome. All right. Well, I would love to welcome in Aaron Riley, founder and CEO of Certified Testing and Data.
Yes.
His laboratory concentrates on the health and safety of consumer wellness and concentrated testing of cannabis, hemp, and psilocybin. Did I say that right? Today we're going to learn about the different types of testing and special considerations, especially for our boomer population out there, and kind of what you need to know before you consume medicinal cannabis. Because knowledge is power, my friends. Welcome, Aaron. How are you?
Awesome. Doing good. I appreciate you ladies having me. I love what you guys are up to. I think education is really one of the biggest things that this industry is missing. And I think it's really kind of going to be the key to broader acceptance.
Awesome.
It's so true, Aaron. Yeah. I'm sorry, April. I just have to let Aaron know how excited I was to have him, especially on today. We have an amazing lineup of guests over the next several months, but I have to say, Aaron, I'm especially excited for you today because, I do lots of table events and educational events and all sorts of things. And whenever there's the science folks that are there, you're always the most popular table because people love to be able to pick your brain about, just growing and learning and the testing and the science behind all of it. So it's always just so phenomenal to be able to have someone like yourself on to be able to talk about this. I think there's just so many folks out there that just really love that science. And so it's just an absolute pleasure and honor to have you here today. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. There used to be a time when the events could give away free product and we were the least popular booth. And then after they disallowed that, we became a lot more popular.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we'll attribute some of that to the science, but I think
yeah,
there's
definitely
not as much free product going around might be a
no. It's funny. There's a group here in Massachusetts. One of the labs is MCR Labs, and they've been phenomenal partners of ours on coming on and do very similar to what you do. And they have all sorts of giveaways that, when I'm standing next to them. But it's so funny. People don't even really care about the giveaways. They're so intent on asking the questions. So it's nice to see that they're really there just to find out, not just so much for the T-shirt. So.
I always equate it to we're like the doctor, we're like the health doctor, and like people like come and ask us like, hey, what's the real deal here? What's really going on? What do I need to be?
That's funny.
It's true.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of, I would love to hear about, how you how your business came to be, and then also just your experience in the cannabis community, because it's always what I love about our guests coming in. There's such a wide array of backgrounds that come in to be part of the cannabis community and advocating for our health and wellness. So
absolutely, yeah. So I got started in the cannabis industry a little early, a little premature. A lot of people know this story, but I got arrested in college I always joke and say I was trying to get a distribution license in South Carolina in 2011. really, really early. Really early in a big juvenile. Disappointed a lot of people, lost a football scholarship. But after that, it was a great learning lesson. I was obviously passionate and interested in the industry as a whole, and really saw it as an opportunity to really benefit a lot of people, more so than it was at the time. People were going to jail for minor amounts of cannabis. When it is it's amazing. It's an amazing drug. It helps a lot of people, both medically and I think a lot of recreational enjoyment. But that was really my first foray into cannabis. After that, I started. I had one job. It didn't go over very well. The only job I could get when I was facing serious criminal charges was construction. So I did that for about a year, and I thought, this is terrible. I need to do something else. So I kind of started my entrepreneurial roots. Started a car business, started a consulting business, did a bunch of different things, but it really wasn't as fulfilling as something I saw myself doing long term. I really kind of was interested in cannabis. I was really interested in health and wellness. So in 2016, I found this opportunity to take over a lab in California. It was CannaSafe. It was the first ISO accredited lab. And we grew that business from really nothing to, it was a little 10 by 10, 100 square foot operation to the largest single site cannabis lab in the country.
Wow.
Had about 40% market share in California. Some of the things that I'm most proud of are what you referenced, April, building community. We were the first ones to uncover the vitamin E acetate that the CDC, we worked with the CDC, helping guide them in terms of what we were seeing in the illicit market that was causing the Valley crisis. So really have tried to stay kind of at the forefront, not only in terms of what we do, professionally and how we make money, but really stay at the forefront of education, advocacy, awareness, things that will really help and prevent, poor health outcomes for consumers and patients. So this new business, certified testing data, I started about 2 years ago. A lot of that was spent doing construction. We built out a really nice facility here in Florida. We also have a facility in New York. We're licensed in both of those states just recently in the past 45 days. So
congratulations.
I know, that's
yeah.
huge.
Thank
congratulations.
You. So it's been a long road just getting kicked off here, but really have some exciting plans surrounding really involving and enrolling patients and consumers. I think that's one of the things that we really try to focus on, from a differentiated perspective as a laboratory, is we want to be recognized by consumers, and that's what we did. That was what led to a lot of the success before. Is we want consumers to see our brand on a package and know that they can trust those results. They can also look to us as a resource for information. We have a medical advisory board. We have healthcare ambassadors to really help people that are looking for solutions that cannabis can resolve or at least assist with.
Awesome.
It's incredible.
So, I think it would be great for you to share kind of a little bit about kind of the importance of testing. So, I think, we have a lot of patients and we do our best at Medwell and DocMJ to really educate them on the process of, now that they have their card, kind of the next steps of going into the dispensary. We talk, about dosing and different types of products, and then they go to the dispensary. And so sometimes I know even on my first time I'm here in Connecticut, I was surprised at looking at the back of the label of all of the different things that go in there. And at the forefront of my mind was not about testing. So tell us a little bit about kind of what you do and why it's really important for consumers to know exactly that there is a testing process.
Sure, yeah. So this is one of these things that we're all naive to, right? Everything that we consume is tested. The building materials that went into our house, the food that's in our grocery store, the gas that went into our car. And at this point, we just kind of go around with the presumption that everything is safe and been tested. And with cannabis, when you buy legal cannabis, that's true. When you buy it off the street, that's not. And why that is so significant and important is because the main reason and main cause for concern is this is an inhalable product. None of those other products that we mentioned, do you smoke? Do you ingest as medicine? So there's some potential contaminants in cannabis that can really cause detrimental health issues. And the kind of the big three, there's more that we test for, but the big three are, pesticides. A lot of the popular pesticides turn into harsh chemicals when they're combusted. Microbutanol, which is a popular one on the illicit market, turns into hydrogen cyanide. Microbial, which is obvious. That's, if you read the news about food outbreaks or issues, it's Listeria, it's E. coli, can oftentimes cause death. We haven't seen that. Thank goodness we haven't seen that in cannabis yet, and hopefully we don't. But that's certainly a risk. And then heavy metals. We're seeing a lot of news about heavy metals in foods and baby food, and there's a ton of neurodegenerative issues associated with large amounts of heavy metals. So it's really so from our standpoint, it's really important to know what you're consuming and ingesting. It starts with safety, right? Safety is number one, and then you can move into what are the quantitative ingredients of the product in terms of cannabinoids and terpenes. One of the things and one of the current distinctions and kind of issues that's plaguing the testing space right now is this whole inflation of potency, right? Inflation of potency and inflation of terpenes. There's a mutual incentive for producers to have higher results, and laboratories that can't differentiate by offering any other services or offering a strong brand to inflate results, right? It's if a lab inflates results, they can have a better position to sell more testing, and if a brand has inflated results, they can use it to sell their products. But it's unsustainable and it's dangerous. And the biggest problem is you're misrepresenting things to consumers, right? People are buying these products based on what is advertised as an ingredient, and in a lot of cases, that's not what is in there. But I think the bigger issue, and one of the things that we're trying to solve, we're actually in the patent process, we're inventing a new test with the goal of changing the measuring stick away from these quantitative, just these numbers of potency percentage or terpene percentage, and getting into something that's more quality oriented, that people can understand in terms of what makes a good product. And what we found is we've looked at all these other industries. We looked at alcohol, we looked at food, we looked at, and no other industry buys products based on a main ingredient percentage or quantity. Nobody buys food based on that. Nobody buys alcohol based on what's the alcohol percentage. They buy based on what is the highest perceived quality for what that individual wants at their desired price point. So, it's what do you want for the best price that's going to be that's going to give you the desired result is really kind of what the broadest subset of the consumer market wants. So we're really looking to position ourselves in a place where we can answer that question and guide consumers and get away from this, oh, it's a 30% flower, it's this percent terpenes. Really, those numbers are pretty insignificant. We used to do the cannabis cup competitions in California. We had a 4 or 5 year run, and I will tell you that we were doing 2 to 4 a year. Never, ever, ever did a single product that had the highest cannabinoid content win for flower or concentrate. Never.
Interesting.
So, it just shows you the measuring stick is broken. I mean, most of the winners were 18 to 25% for flowers. And most of the concentrates were not the 90 percenters. They were the 65 to 80% with, a lot of terpenes, a lot of cannabinoid diversity. So as a laboratory, we're working on something that will help explain that to consumers in a very simple manner rather than having them rely on this broken measuring stick of it's higher potency, so it's better.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah,
Interesting.
so interesting.
So it's interesting to me kind of that what consumers and how they're purchasing, like how consumers purchase, right? And you are so right on the fact that people are stuck on the label when they walk into a dispensary on like kind of the percentage of flower, THC, that's what they're looking at and not at other things and kind of that consumption of what's good for them, right? So I guess, if you could make a recommendation, and I'm not sure that you can, but like if somebody were to look as a consumer going in and looking at a label, is there anything in particular that somebody should look for? Because I know that it is mandated. They do have to have testing, but like, is there something that you would recommend that people pay more attention to on a label as opposed to others?
I mean, so at a base point, the products they all have to pass testing to be on the shelf, right? So
Right.
if it's there, that shouldn't be an issue. And I think it would be too complicated of an ask to ask consumers to say, hey, go do research and see which labs are honest or known. I think that's too much. But my advice to consumers would be really start paying attention to what works well for you. And when I say that, what I mean is looking at cannabinoid diversity, not just level. Is there more than THCA? Is there THCV? Is there CBDN? Is there CBDG or CBG? Like, is there other cannabinoids in this product? And then what are the top terpenes in the product? Because, for myself as a consumer, that's how I look at products. I don't give any weight to what's the potency percentage. As long as I focus more on like, what does it look like? What does it smell? And that's something that we've actually found too is, if you give somebody all of the information, right? And you let them look at the product, you let them smell the product, you give them data on the product, you let them try the product. The number one indicator for a good outcome or perceived interaction is smell.
Interesting.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting to think about, but it actually aligns with food. There's a lot of foods that smell better than they taste,
Right.
and we have this
That is
we
true.
have this draw to them that it's more about smell than even flavor, and flavor is important too. But so that's what we found is smell is actually the most important indicator for perceived value or enjoyment of a certain product. But I would say pay attention to what cannabinoids are in there, right? Is it more than one? Is there a ratio? And then what terpenes are in there? What are the top terpenes? Because when you take that type of analytical approach, you'll really start narrowing down like, wow, this works well for me. and it's not necessarily the strain works well for me. It's these terpenes really give me the effect, whether I'm trying to relax or have pain relief or focus and be creative or relieve my headaches. Those are going to be the ingredients that really help drive your outcome. So that would be my advice, would be to look there.
Interesting.
I have a quick question for you, Aaron. So in Florida, it's amazing to me how many dispensaries, one company can have at a time. In Massachusetts, usually they give about 3 licenses to each company. So, but in Florida, one company, there can be like 60 locations, so it's the amount of work that you must have on your plate is astronomical. So besides the large dispensaries that, need to send products to you, do you have a section of your company where someone maybe could grow like their own, or like a little individual that can bring something to be tested? Or can you kind of explain maybe if that's even a possibility?
Yeah, and I wish it was a possibility.
But they
So
can't, right?
no, so you can't home grow yet, and this is something that we're advocating for with the regulators. They're about to do a rule change, and this is something that we're accustomed to doing in California. We could service patients, so they could come test their product that they grew. They could test product that somebody made for them, and I think it's really beneficial. They could go test product that they bought at the store. They can test product that they bought in an illicit market.
Yeah.
Florida doesn't even allow us to service the patients, right? So you can't go buy product at a store and say, hey, this has mold on it, can you test it for me and recheck this? That's currently not allowed.
Okay.
We can service, so the 2 main parts of our business are this medical marijuana, where we're servicing, as you mentioned, Emily, these very large companies.
Yeah.
A lot of them have multiple locations. It is concentrated. There's 23 potential customers right now, so they're big, but there's not hundreds of them. So that's a significant part of our business. And then the other part is on the CBD side. So we are testing we do get a lot more mom and pops. We have people that are making kombucha. We have people that are making all these other products. We have people that are growing hemp at their house. So we do test products for that subset. And we are hoping that with the new regulations, part of the whole recreational initiative includes a home grow. And we're pushing on regulators to allow patients to test products. I mean, I think it's fair, right? If they're allowed to buy it, why wouldn't they be allowed to show up and spend their money to test it?
Agreed. Gotcha. Okay. That's interesting. It's funny, as I'm learning more and more about Florida, it's interesting to hear, some of these little pieces that, might apply here in Massachusetts, but certainly do not apply in Florida. So I guess it's good for any of the folks watching and listening. And certainly it depends what state you're in, on what rules are applying. So it's certainly good that you brought that to their attention. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. And I think that there's going to be a lot of change, right? This industry it changes every day. Sometimes we wake up and we're like, wow, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in New York right now, where we have our license in New York. We're actually expanding our facility to accommodate the future growth. And I literally feel like every day there is some sort of new regulation, and I don't know where they're all coming from. Some of them seem good and reasonable adjustments.
Yeah.
Some of them are head scratchers in terms of why are we going to do this? Nobody else does this. I think it becomes a contest by regulators, right? Especially in certain states where they have to outregulate other states.
Other ones.
We have to test for more things because that means we're going to have safer products. And in some respects, yes. In some respects, no. I mean, that's what's kind of funny to us, is that it would be there's some simple suggestions that would help improve consumer and patient safety across all markets as it relates to testing regs. And it's not adding 27 different solvents that nobody uses in their cannabis products or extraction. It's focusing on really like I mentioned, the big 3, right? Microbial, microbial is the biggest issue right now. In the food industry, the minimum for food, right? Any type of food, you have to test at least 25 grams of sample. That's the absolute minimum that you can even get validated. A lot of food and certain companies, they won't accept less than 75 grams. Cannabis, you can test 1 gram for microbial.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there's a lot of mold. There's a lot of, a lot of the pathogen we test for when I say microbial, that means 2 different things. That means fungus and bacteria. So those are your 2 different types of microbial pathogens that we're looking for. So fungal would be aspergillus, which is a type of mold. Other types of mold. Bacteria would be your salmonella, E. coli, total yeast, and mold. But the current sample sizes that are allowed are so small that there's a lot of product, and it's not even necessarily the lab's fault or the producer's fault. The sample size is just so small that there's a lot of product that really would fail if you tested a larger subset of the sample, and it sneaks through based on the kind of current poorly accepted criteria for microbial. So there's some organizations working to expand that. AOAC, which is really leading the charge in terms of setting the bar for testing standardization. They're trying to push to a 25 gram sample minimum for microbial, which, I think all things considered would be appropriate. Our customers would be, running over here to hit me with their cars if they all have to give that many samples. So we're currently doing 10, right? The minimum that you could do is 1, but we're currently doing 10. We feel like, hey, this is best practice. I've been doing this for 7 or 8 years, seen a ton of data. I think that's a kind of a happy medium until the industry grows a little bit more and people are able to sell larger batches across the country.
So, which you mentioned data. So I think I'd love to. So, kind of in my world, data kind of drives everything, right? So I'd love to hear a little bit about how the data is tracked and why it's so important. And I love that you mentioned that you're kind of at 10 instead of 1, so you're setting the standard higher. But let's talk about the data and where you report that to, and that would be, if you don't mind sharing that.
Sure, yeah. So again, Florida's different. We report only passing data, and it only goes to our clients. A lot of them do have, I would say, pretty high levels of transparency. I think pretty much every producer in Florida, you can buy a product, you can go on their website, and you can find the COA for that product. So I haven't heard of any of the producers not offering that. Some of them it's public, where you can go look at their store and you can literally shop products and you can look at the COA as you're shopping the product. Some of them you actually have to buy the product because you have to have the batch code to enter and push in. So that's where right now, sans track and trace, sans a little bit of more professionalization by the state agencies. That's how the data is. We do report failures go to the state. Obviously, they don't go to the consumers or public. Those do get reported to the state, and the producers are given the opportunity to remediate them, so they have options in terms of how to handle that. But I would say, given that we're in such a professionalized market, these producers are the real deal. There's less issues than in, call it California or some of these other states where we've seen, these companies have people that manage. Their job is to manage risk, right? And it's pretty simple to do a little bit of extra testing to make sure that you're not, putting out bad product, or that you're not going to have a failed batch product that's going to disrupt your whole workflow, right? Because a lot of these issues, if you catch them early on, right? Like, just say, for instance, you have a flower product. It's normal. It's Florida. It's humid. It's not crazy to think that you would have some fails for mold. But if you catch that early enough, you can turn that product into concentrate, which would neutralize and kill any pathogens. So it's fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great that you bring that up, because you think, the environment in Florida as opposed to New York or Massachusetts or California, each environment's going to have just bits and pieces that are going to affect the growth and what ends up happening to the flower. So, it's really interesting to think about the fact that, certain issues that would be happening in Florida, they don't have to really think about here in Massachusetts. But it's a very interesting point to be able to think that, certainly one bad crop could just be disastrous no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. And we have some cool tools, I think, that are differentiated in the market. I obviously mentioned the test that we're inventing, or It's still under wraps. We're actually going to pilot it. You'll probably hear more in the next 2 months. We have a couple folks that we're piloting that with. I think that'll make a dent in the cannabis universe. But one of the other offerings that we have that's not necessarily widely offered, or I don't know that it's even offered by any of our competitors, but we have a plant health program that has a software data overlay. And what we can do and what we found is, Emily brought up a great point about people having different environments, your soil, your humidity, all of these things play into how the plants perform, what the end result is, because these plants are sucking up everything out of their environment. They're sucking up metals, pesticides, everything, pathogen. With this program, we look at macro and micronutrients to the plant over the whole life cycle of the plant. So these people are typically running them for 9 weeks, and we're looking at nitrogen, all these different other micronutrients, phosphorus, and how the plant uptakes them. And we basically have like 14,000 harvest data points. So we have optimal ranges for each of these macro and micronutrients. And what we found is that when producers are effective at optimizing, their yields are going up 20, 30%. They're having healthier plants. Their cannabinoid and terpene production is higher and more consistent. So that's a really cool tool that we've launched here in Florida. We've had some pretty good early success with that, and we're excited about that as a tool for our customers. I think it's one of those things where you get people on, you solve these big problems. It's like having insurance, right? It's like you pay a little bit of money, you have all this data, and now you have historical data. You can compare what's the issues between your grows, because up to date, people this facility here is not produced. They're growing the same strain. They're not producing the same yields. They're not producing the same cannabinoids. Well, the tests that we do is we're literally looking at week over week, how are these plants metabolizing the nutrients that you're feeding them? How are their environments affecting their metabolization of nutrients, water, et cetera, and tracking that. And it's very clear that, because there's no other way. I've never heard of somebody else saying that there's another way to tell 3 weeks in how a crop is going to perform across different cultivation facilities with the same strain and all these other variables.
Sure.
I think that's genius. I love that. What a great thing to be able to offer. And you're exactly right. That was the first thing that popped into my head. Was it just seems like insurance, and why would you not want to have that kind of insurance on such an investment? Really,
Yeah, that's one of our focuses with that one. The idea we had is we should market this to people's investors, because if they knew that the companies they were investing in were only 40% optimized.
I agree with you.
They're like, it's a no-brainer. We should just go to the investment community and say, hey, if your investments aren't doing this, they're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
So share why somebody would a business or a consumer would consider your business for cannabis testing. So I know, like in Massachusetts, there's an opportunity for you can grow at home, a very small percentage. I don't know, maybe Emily, know off the top of your head. It's the same in Connecticut. So I know every state varies by that, but is that something somebody might
plants that you can have?
Yeah. Is that something that a consumer could send to your team to have tested?
Well, not currently. It depends on which state we're in, right? So if we show up in your state and we're allowed to test patients, absolutely, we love doing that. It's not a big money maker to sell one-off tests to consumers, but we do love doing that and really helping educate people, guiding. I think the number one reason that somebody, whether it be a business or consumer, would use us or want to buy a product that we tested is that we're building a brand that's trustworthy and recognizable. Right. That's why our parent company is Certified Testing and Data, but our COAs, all of our branding that goes on to what we're testing for each product subset. For cannabis, it's Certified Cannabis. It's a very simple aesthetic logo with a check mark. And for CBD, it's Certified CBD. And the idea is that somebody can see that. They don't have to know. They don't have to Google some lab. It's very easy to understand. It is a Certified Cannabis. It's passed the test. Here's the results. There's a QR code that we give to everyone so everyone can go and check that. I would say that's the top reason. Reason 2 through 10 are all of the other differentiated things that we're doing. in terms of, the plant health program, this new test that we're inventing. We're going to push the envelope and really be a driving force. And we feel that the biggest opportunity is not just testing more and more products. The biggest opportunity is connecting consumers to safe products, right? Like being a liaison and an advocate for the consumers, building that trust and snowballing.
Sure.
My last business, we did that. We were testing the equivalent of 22 million packaged products a year. We were on about 7 to 8 million of those packages. So that's what of our focus is here in Florida and New York, is really going to be bringing value to consumers, alleviating the issues with, data. Is this lab inflating this data? Is this really true? Is this product really safe? We want to, nip a lot of that stuff in the bud and start building that trust with consumers and the community.
Awesome. Erin, my gosh, thank you so much for your time today and all of your knowledge, my friends. To learn more about Erin, I'm going to drop his LinkedIn profile. I'm sure he would love to connect as he shares his powerful message about testing in cannabis. And then also you can stop by his website at certifiedtnd.com, which I have here in the window here, and learn more about him. Thanks so much, Erin, for your time today. We really appreciate it. That was awesome. And we'd love to have you back in a few months and learn how far you've come, because we need people like you advocating in the cannabis community for the good of consumers. So we appreciate all that you do.
Awesome.
I'd love to be next time I'm in Florida too, Aaron. Do you do tours throughout the lab? I'm definitely going to have to give you a ring to take a tour. I'm sure it's probably fascinating.
Awesome.
Yes, you're welcome to come. We've had the top companies in the space have all came through here and said they've all agreed this is the nicest lab in cannabis. So we're happy to.
I'm sure. Oh, that's fantastic. I'll definitely have to take you up on that. That'll be great. And I definitely want to make sure that we mention too, we've kind of geared our series to seniors, but this is one particular episode that this applies to everybody, because if you're going to be participating in cannabis and using that as medication or just recreationally, you want to make sure it's safe. There's nothing more scary than that than that black market, and it scares me to think of some of the things that people could find in that. If you got your hands on that, Aaron, I'm sure it would probably be terrible. So for all those out there listening, this is why you want to buy from a dispensary that has had to go through these sorts of testing to make sure that it's a safe product for you. So please keep that in mind.
Awesome. Thank you again, and thank you, Emily, for your time. My friends, if you have any questions about your medical certification, drop by medwellhealth.net or drop by docmj.com. We're here to help you, and our team is always, even if you are already certified and you have a question about dosing or a place where you need to have a safe conversation about something that you don't want to ask at a dispensary, we're here to help you. So we look forward to seeing you next week on Thursday at 10. And we're going to continue with our series in seniors in cannabis. And again, Emily brought up, Erin, this is such an important message for everybody using medical cannabis. So thanks again, my friends. I look forward to seeing you all next week, and make it a great day.
Awesome.